Dialogue. I am Jenna Bosonko. So every June 16 is commemorated as the Day of the African Child. In 1976, the Soweto uprising in South Africa. The day set aside to recognize the young people who participated in this for their rights, for their liberty, and the list goes on. So today I'm joined by young Africans, Gambians for that matter, Tida Barrow as well as Bintu Jaite, who are both at the Children's National Assembly. So the Children's National Assembly is a mirror of the National Youth Parliament as well as the National Assembly of the Gambia, giving an opportunity to children to advocate and to demand for things that they want to see happen. And thank you so much for joining me on the program, two ladies. Thank you so much. So Tida, to start with you, the Day of the African Child in 1976, the Soweto uprising, children like yourself were out on the streets to demand for their rights. On this day, what do you reflect on?
So on this day, I reflect on the fact that there were children before us, and those children had nobody to stand for them, so they had to stand for themselves and advocate for what was truthfully theirs.
So as an individual, what do you reflect on? How do you see the day? What does it teach you?
So it teaches me a lot of things, and one of it is like the way we are not struggling to get education in our own language, in English, to be taught, to go to school every day and be taught without difficulties, to be able to understand the teachers. But it also makes me to reflect on the fact that there are people living with disabilities who go to universities and they have a hard time trying to understand the lecturer. So it reminds me of so many things.
Bintu?
This day is actually a day that reminds us a lot of things, because it was a day other children like us went outside to advocate for their rights and many other things. So this day should be a day that we should celebrate, a day that should be remembered, because those children did not go only for themselves, but they went for us that are coming in the future. Because this day is indeed a day that they went to seek for the right to education, right to health, etc., etc. It was a day that it is like a brave day for African children.
Okay, so what does it mean to you?
It means a lot to me, because as an African child, I think equality should be very important. So this day, children went out to advocate for their equality and other stuff, which is like, to me, it's like they include us that we are not yet here, which we are benefiting from, because they want to advocate for education, and now we are getting education. But I think the day is really important.
So, Tida, you touched on a very, very key topic, which has to do with persons with disability. And the UNICEF country representative was here on our morning show, and you know, the argument that she put up was that she feels like persons with disabilities education should be mainstreamed into the education that Bintu, Tida, and I went through. What's your take on that? Do you think they should be separated, or they should join the normal education system, but it should be more inclusive?
So what she's saying, it's very true. They should be also allowed to be able to learn with us, so that there won't be this barrier of communication between us and our fellow children, so that anytime you see your friend on the streets, you won't have to go to a separate class to learn sign language and all those stuff to be able to communicate with him or her. Like there might be an emergency of which the person might be in danger, you won't be able to understand the person and you won't be able to help. So I think if we can all be put into the same classes to have like to be taught of sign language, although it cannot start now, but like it can start with the children who will be coming from nursery, they will be learning sign language, and so that when the teacher is explaining and also doing sign language, they will be able to understand, and there will be nothing like he goes to a separate school, she goes to a separate school, and they won't be feeling like I am deaf, that's why I'm being left out, I can't go to school with other kids.
But do you know the disability is not just deaf individuals, you know, the blind. There's just a lot, and normally we would just peg it to, I feel like in Gambia, we feel like the only two disabilities that exist is being deaf or being partially impaired or something. that's the only, it's beyond that, you know. There's a lot of disability. There's autism, for example. With autism, you can hear, you can speak, but you have some certain learning disabilities. So it's not limited to that. And I think most of the time, our conversation when it comes to disability is just limited to that. Bintu, what do you think?
I think the people with disabilities are not like, we should not even call it disability. We should call them people that are not fully able. Like, if you call it disability, it does not sound nice to them. Yeah, because it's like they are disabled, but they are actually able to do certain things.
Yeah.
So they should be called people that are not fully able instead of disability.
Yeah.
And putting them, putting us together should be something that is really important, because separating us create what we call discrimination, number one. Because if I am, maybe my legs are, I can walk, I'm crippled, and Tida can walk, but we are, you know, here we, as you just said right now, what we consider as disability in the Gambia is maybe being deaf, dumb, and others. But we don't, being crippled is also disability.
Yeah, there's just a lot of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So being put together, teachers should also, even in school, when certain activities come, when they are trying to put that, when we have activities where we should all be put together, they tend to separate them from us. Several events, they say, but we should be all, because we are all equal. We should be all packed together. When things come, we should be all together and make sure we are doing works together. So if you bring that barrier between us, there is going to be what we call discrimination. Inequality will come in place because they will feel like we are not including them. You understand?
Yeah.
I think putting us together is really important. In schools, in events, in fun places, in hospital, there should be a way that we should be all packed together because we are all equal.
Yeah. So the theme for this year is planning, budgeting for the rights of children, you know, progress since 2010. So when you heard about the theme, budgeting, planning, it's a bit administrative, but that is what makes the work happen to ensure that Tida is protected, to ensure that Bintu is protected. So what's your take on the theme this year? Budgeting, you know, putting the finance that is needed together, planning it accordingly to ensure that the rights of children are protected by all means.
So, like, the way I feel about it is that planning and budgeting is happening, but we the children don't know much about these things.
Okay.
So, like, children should be having their own special budgets because we don't know much about this planning and budgeting. And whenever we hear of it is, like, this is the budget going to the sports sector, the ministry of this and that, but like they don't say specifically this is the budget for children. So it is something that really hurts me sometimes. Children should be having their own budgets. And also, as the Children National Assembly, we also deserve to have our own budget put in place so that anytime we need to have sittings or other stuff, we will not be delayed because we are also very important. We don't make decisions, but we do influence them.
Yeah, but you know that there's a Ministry of Children, Gender and Social Welfare, and there's a budget. When the budget is being formulated, obviously money is directed to each ministry. There's money for the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, where children are under that particular ministry. So are you trying to explain that probably the budget is too little, or you don't even recognize that there's a budget because it's too little?
Yeah, I don't even recognize that there's a budget.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking is that if the ministry can be separated, like the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, if the Ministry of Children can be its own ministry.
So you want the Ministry of Children to be a standalone ministry just for children? Why? Why is that?
If that happens, the ministry will not overlook us as children. They will know our importance. So that's why I think that should happen.
So right now, there's a Ministry of Children, Gender and Social Welfare. Do you think they're not doing enough because it's three different topics under one ministry? Do you feel that way? That is the reason why you think it should be one? Why? What makes you feel like that?
I feel like we are being overlooked as children. Like there's Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare. All of these things are broad topics. And if you come to the part of children, we are also another broad topic.
Okay.
So if they are trying to take care of all these things together, it's going to be very difficult. So I think children should be in their own ministry, just like Ministry of Youth and Sports. Children should also have their own ministry.
But the Ministry of Youth and Sport, it's youth and sport.
Yes.
Well, you know, sometimes you have to be realistic, Tida, because, you know, Gambia has very meager resources. So sometimes that is why these ministries are put together. And I do not think it's an excuse that because ministries are put together, your argument, you feel, this is totally your judgment, you feel like your affairs are overlooked. I do not feel like it's a reason for you guys to be overlooked. I didn't say that, you said that, Tida. So I do not think so. It's about the planning, it's about the budgeting that we're talking about. With proper planning and proper budgeting, changes might come. What do you think?
That's true. I do not also see it as like that's the ministry are joined. That's why they are overlooking us as children. But that is the way they make us feel.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Bintu, what's your take on the team? Budgeting, planning?
Yeah, I think budgeting and planning is very important in every ministry, because if there is budgeting and planning, especially for us as children, when they put on finance into anything, it will obviously work.
Yeah.
Money is the source of everything. So if money is being put into children affairs, it will really help. Number one, like people that are doing child advocate, like those people, when they're giving them money, encouraging them to do it, to educate maybe our parents out there to know about child right affairs, they will do it. Like if some let's say someone is outside, she or he knows about child right issues, but the person might feel lazy or something to do it. But putting money into it, putting finance into it, will really help the person to do it, because maybe they might want to do it, but because there is no resources, no nothing, they will stand back. So I think putting budgeting for children is really important.
Okay. So how do you see the education curriculum? We hosted one of your members, Emily Prera. You know her. Yeah, she's also part of the National Assembly, Children's National Assembly. And she highlighted something that really caught my attention. She talked about the education curriculum not being inclusive enough, you know, where you guys are taught certain things that has to do with your rights, helping you to have that sense of awareness. What do you think about the education curriculum of the Gambia? Does it build your awareness, you know, to an extent that probably if you do not have an opportunity to be part of a mentorship or even the Children's National Assembly, you're able to know your rights, for example. Does it help in that manner? What's your take?
So my take on that is our curriculum, it doesn't involve this child rights stuff that much. We learned about it in grade 8, but it was under a particular subject, SES. We learned about child rights, and you know that explanation enough is not. It is not sufficient for us to be able to understand child rights because it is a broad topic. So I think if they could have a subject that will be about child rights, like citizenship, all those types of things, we'll be able to learn more about child rights.
Okay. So you feel like it's limited. Bintu, do you feel the same way?
Yes, I do. But like in senior school now, since last year, civic has been there. But now it's a core subject for all fields, including science, commerce, and arts.
Yeah.
Now it's a core subject for all of us. Civic, it's a subject that teaches you about your rights as not only children, but like as a human being. So I think child right is being mentioned there, but it's not much. It's more of human rights mentioned in it. But I think if they can sit down and try to fix and work on more things and add it to things like child right and add it into civic, it will be more. It will make school-going children to know their rights and know how and their responsibilities.
Yeah. So we will just go for a short break now. So in this break, we'll be taking a look at the Day of the African Child celebration organized by the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare. So this is a statement by the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, Fatou Kinte, and I hope part of her speech is going to reassure Gambian children that she got your back, because directly you're under her, and then you talked about the fact that you feel overlooked by the work that they're doing. And aside from that, the UNICEF resident representative as well was there, and UNICEF is the main partner in the Gambia when it comes to supporting the Gambia's development agenda directed to children in the Gambia. So let's take a look at that, and when we come back, the show continues. We'll be right back.
This day, inspired by the bravery of the children of Soweto in 1976, continues to serve as a powerful reminder of our collective responsibility to protect, invest in, and empower Africa's greatest asset, its children. Today, we gather to reflect on our journey, celebrate the strides we have made, and re-energize our commitment towards a more inclusive and child-centered and friendly future. Boys and girls, our dear children, over the past 15 years, the Gambia has made significant progress in integrating child-focused priorities into our national planning and budgeting frameworks through sustained policy reforms, intersectoral coordination, and increased domestic and international support. Several legislations that promote and protect children are being put in place to align with best practices and international standards. This includes, of course, the Sexual Offences Act of 2013, which provides protection against sexual crimes from all forms and persons, especially vulnerable groups, including children, and people who are mentally and physically disabled and are enabled, and is implicable to the crime of rape and other sexual offenses. The Children's Act of 2005 was amended in 2016 to include and prohibit and criminalize child marriage and child betrothal.
Let us then rise to this moment with clear actions. Increase budget allocations for child health, education, nutrition, protection, and social welfare. Adopt child-sensitive budgeting laws and tools with clear indicators and tracking system. Ensure good governance and transparency so every dollar spent makes a difference in the lives of children. Create meaningful spaces for children to share their views, not for a formality, but to realize their rights to participate. Prioritize the most vulnerable children and girls, particularly girls, children with disabilities, children in institutional care like in Majalis, and children on the street or living in poverty. Let us treat planning and budgeting not as administrative duties, but as moral choices. Because when we plan and budget with children in mind, we don't just improve services, we transform lives.
Thank you so much for staying with us. That was Honorable Fata Kinte, the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Welfare, as well as the UNICEF resident representative, all talking about the Day of the African Child and kind of giving you all that reassurance when it comes to your plight as young people. So when it comes to budgeting and planning, I believe it's beyond just education, because children go to the hospitals, you know, children do everything. And then these sectors directly affect your well-being and your life, especially the health aspect, you know, menstrual hygiene management at the level of the school, wash facilities and all of that. Tida, what's your take on that? Because like you said, young people, children's plight is cross-cutting. And that goes back to our point of you saying that, you know, the ministry has to be standalone because there's a lot to take care of when it comes to children. How do you judge accessibility when it comes to these sectors as well?
So, like, the first one I want to talk about is health. Like, when it comes to health, there are vaccines that are provided for children to make sure it boosts their health and all those things. But I think they should start to improve on many things, because in the hospital now, when you go to the hospital, if you are poor and can't afford many of these things, you can pay ticket for maybe $25 or less or more, but then they will diagnose you, write everything down for you, but then they will have to give you the paper to give you maybe paracetamol or only one medicine and tell you the rest you'll have to buy. And then the rest of those medicine are mostly expensive, sometimes going up till to $400, $300, which not every parent can buy for their children.
Yeah.
So I think children, there should be improvements on the health sector also. And also when it comes to food, there are many children in the Gambia that are suffering from malnutrition because they don't have food that has a lot of nutrients that they need. So I think there should be improvements on that. Recently, I used to see that, like in the villages, my aunties will tell me they used to bring supplies for us and our children, but now I no more hear them saying it. I don't know whether it is still going on or whether they are not doing it. But if they are doing it, I want to urge the ministry to make sure they improve on it also, to make sure they provide food, not only for children living in rural areas, but also in urban areas.
With the WFP, I know there's a food program that they do where they give, it's not all schools, but I think they have their own way of determining which schools get to have access to the WFP food supplies, providing lunch or breakfast for school children. I think they have specific targeted schools where they do this. And the research has shown that it makes these children stay in school and all of that. So thumbs up to WFP, you're right about that. Bintu, how do you see other sectors which are directly related to the plight of children?
Like, let's talk about health, like what Tita was saying. Health is very important, but I think right now in the Gambia, the health of the children are not going well. Because let's say, I myself, I went to the hospital in Banjul. So that hospital, I went there around, it was around 6, because I was asked to go very early. My auntie asked me to come there. When I went there, I went to the hospital. I was not feeling well. I was sitting. I bought ticket for $25.
Right.
Yes. When I bought the ticket, I went and sat down at the line. Number one, they don't observe culture. People don't lie. It's whom you know. You will come to the hospital, you know this person, they will come and take the other person. So one woman was there, her child was around, let's say, 3 to 4 months old. But even if you look at her, you will know that, like, the woman, she doesn't have money to pay for medical bills or something. Yeah. She was sitting down there. They wrote this prescription
for her to go and buy the
medication.
Yeah.
She didn't have money to go and get medication. And what she needed, I think the child was suffering from malaria, I don't know, something like that. Well, the child was suffering. I was sitting there from 6 to almost 1 o'clock. People that came before me were attended. I was still sitting down there because I don't know anybody in the hospital. Yeah. And that child was there with the mom. The mom was telling the other nurse that she has no money right now to buy medication. The nurse told her it's only paracetamol that is available in the hospital. So at that point, if that child should die, you know, if anything should happen, the child might die because of that sickness, because there is no medication
at the hospital.
At the hospital. So we are urging the ministry. I think children from maybe 1 to 15 should be given free medication when it comes to government hospitals.
Well, if it is available, it's free for everybody, but it's not available often. It's not just with children, but it's a general problem.
Anytime you go to the hospital, the only thing they give you is paracetamol. Now, they don't even have paracetamol. The day I went to the hospital, there was no medication for me. Nothing. They wrote everything on the paper.
And you bought it?
Yeah, I went outside and let's assume that day, my dad, maybe my father or my mother has no money to provide for me to buy that medication. What will happen to me? So I think the ministry should consider our health. Our healths are very important. If you're not, your health is first. If you're not well, you cannot do anything.
Yeah, that's true. So the Children's National Assembly is a mirror of the National Youth Parliament, also the bigger National Assembly. And then we've seen how a year plus ago, a National Assembly member, you know, stood to say that they want a repeal of the ban on FGM. As a Children's National Assembly member, you know, how did that make you feel?
So it made me feel sad because there are so many children that are suffering because of FGM, and most of them cannot reach out because they feel afraid or something like that. But it is something that we, the Children National Assembly, were given funds to advocate about them. When we do have events, we try our best to make sure we do some awareness raising on school outreach, many of those things. So it's like when a National Assembly member, people who we look up to, stands up to support something that violates our right, it feels like all that we are doing, the work that we are doing has no use. And the people who we are looking up to are disappointing us. So it is something that really made me feel sad, because there are so many children that are suffering, and then a National Assembly member had to stood up and say the law should be, the ban should be repealed, something like that. I was really sad.
Okay, how did that make you feel as a National Assembly member for, for children?
The same way, it makes me feel sad because through that FGM, a lot of sexual transmitted diseases can be transferred from one child to another. Because I'm not very sure, but I know that these old people, they can use one razor blade to...
that has happened. That has been reported.
Exactly, with different kids. You don't know what this child is having. You might infect it to the other child. So I think as a National Assembly member standing up, we are looking up to them. So if we are advocating for it to stop and they are trying to bring it back, it's really going to make us sad, because it's something that is really violating our right as children, and it's something that is really affecting us. It's not even like a matter of being a child.
So also as children, as African children, judging from our bigger National Assembly, do they inspire you? Let's put the FGM issue aside, but do they inspire you? The conversations that they have in the chamber there, they are supposed to inspire you. You're supposed to want to be a National Assembly member for your constituency someday. So do they inspire you based on the conversations that they have?
Like sometimes I do come across their meetings when they are talking about certain issues, but sometimes like the actions that they normally do in the chambers, sometimes they are not very child friendly. It makes you feel afraid or something. So I think judging from that, you as a child watching them do certain things, it will make you feel like this job is really not what I want to do. So
really?
And sometimes their language also, you are not able to understand. Because us as Children National Assembly, many of the children can understand our language. But I think like when speaking, they should make their language very child-friendly. So that when there are topics concerning children, children themselves will be able to understand.
Okay, that is well noted. Bintu?
Not inspired at all. Before, I wanted to become a politician, but looking at the way it is going, I backed off.
Why?
Because
how do you see Gambian politicians as a child?
I'm not in. I feel like they're just here. Today, they will, before the election, they will bomb us with different words. They will say everything to convince us. Things that they will say after the election, we are not seeing those things. I myself, I used to say, even if I'm 18, back then, I used to say, even if I'm 18, I will not vote. Because I've not seen anybody that is capable for me to give my vote to.
Even right now?
Even right now, I have not seen yet.
Okay.
I don't know what is coming next, but so far, what
So
I've
when
seen,
are you 18?
like in 2 years' time.
So which means you will not vote in 2026?
No, I will not vote.
Okay.
But I'm still saying that I will not vote for because if you look at the way things are going today, I think as a Children National Assembly member, I should be looking up to them, saying that I want to be like this particular person. I want to be like, but I'm not seeing anybody that I want to be like. Yeah, I used to see before, that was Halifa Sallah. He was someone that, growing up, when I look at things he said, I'm like, this man is very smart. If I grow up, I will be like him. But now he's no longer in the picture. So I don't see anybody that we can look up to, because these people will tell us this, and what they are doing is completely different. What we are seeing and what is happening, what they are saying and what is happening, it's like this.
So are you telling me that you do not see political will from the government when it comes to the plight of children in the Gambia? But if they've provided you guys a space. For example, they're allowing you to use the National Assembly chambers, which has never happened. at least give them their flowers for that.
Yes,
What do you think? Give them their flowers.
We do appreciate some of the things that they do for us,
Exactly.
but some of the things that they do are not appreciable.
Okay.
Like, just like what Bintu said, me personally, if I am 18, if by that time there's a politician I will look up to, I might vote, but right now, if somebody comes to me about these voting things, I will not, because I'm thinking as a politician, if you want children, people to look up to you and you want votes, if you have the funds and everything, you should start doing your work before election, way before elections. If you have the presidential
aspiration.
yes.
So you're saying that government in waiting, the opposition,
Yeah.
right?
But some people will still do it just to impress us. After that, nothing. And what Tida was saying about the language barrier, I think like the National Assembly should not only be like, it should not be a place where English should be
only spoken
to. Yeah, you understand? It should be, they say national. We are colonized by the British, but not everybody. There are a lot of people out there that are very educated, but they cannot speak the language. I myself, I might look at you, bring up some words. I mean, I will not be able to understand what you are saying. Right. So, putting child-friendly, speaking in a child-friendly language manner will really help children to know what you are saying. As Student National Assembly member, I can be sitting down with my younger brother, let's say. He might want to know what they are saying. He will ask me, I will not be able to say anything because of the language. Like, we don't find it interesting anymore to even watch what they are doing, because we don't know what they are saying.
Okay.
So I think introducing of the local language should be, they should start using local language. For there are adults out there that are not educated. They wish they were educated, but they were not, because they didn't get the opportunity. So speaking the local language at times is really important. Like speaking only English, even if you're speaking English, speak it in a way that we will understand what you're saying.
Simple English.
Simple English. All right. National Assembly members, I hope you're watching this. These are recommendations that you guys are coming up with. Let's talk about now wash facilities. You know, wash facilities for, you know, female African children as well. It can be very challenging for females like yourselves to go to school, have your adequate wash facilities. I know UNICEF and in partnership with the Gambia government is doing a lot when it comes to wash facilities, availability of sanitary pads and all of that. Are there still challenges that exist around wash?
Yes, there are still challenges, because I know they are brought to the schools and things like that, but normally when they are brought to the schools, the teachers or the principal will normally say, if you need it, go and take it. I think it should not be a matter of if you need it, come and take it. Because some people will feel shy to come and say, I need pads, or I need this and this and that. They will feel shy. So if it comes by right, if it is sufficient, it should be shared amongst all of the girls, so that there will be no such thing as if you need it, come and take it.
Okay.
It should not be like that.
You think? But is it sustainable to share it among the girls?
No.
What do you think, Bintu?
I think, like, if you need it, come and take it, should be removed out, because me, myself, if I go to school and this thing happened to me, I used to feel shy to go to the staff room and where it is positioned, it is kept in the staff room. Sometimes you might find a male teacher there and you feel shy and turn back. Yeah, that is only if it is sufficient. But like, if what we are getting is not enough, they can share it to the school. Yeah. So I think
So now what can be done now? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that they should bring it in bulk and give it to the principals to maybe, you might share it among students, and still we will, some will forget to bring it to school. But like, if you have it in a place whereby, if you need it, you just go there and pick it yourself. I think it's more okay when it is sufficient.
But don't you think there should be a conversation to teach girls to normalize? Because, you know, there's still that thing about periods, you know. So how about that?
That also should be taught, because for me personally, there was a time when we were in school, and then there was this whole issue of when girls are on their period, they normally stay in the toilets, they make them dirty, they don't know how to dispose it properly. So then they came while we were on moral lesson, and two of our female teachers started teaching us. But then as they were speaking, and then I was nodding to some of the words that they were saying, a classmate started telling me, you are very shameless. These people are speaking about something like this and you are just nodding and saying yes, no, things like that. I said, but it's how I feel about it. If they are saying it, I have the right to nod and say yes. It is very important. Things like that. That is nothing, nothing problematic. And then they were like, yes, you haven't started to see your period. That's why you are not shy about it. So it's like people are giving them this thought of period is something you should be shy about.
Yeah.
We are not saying that anytime you are sitting down, you should be saying period, period, period. But if it's the right time to talk about it, you need to talk about that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that as well.
Yes.
Bintu.
I think we should be taught in schools as well about periods and how to take. It should be part of our syllabus to teach us on how to take care of these periods. Because there are some people that are still adults and don't know how to take care of themselves. And yes, as Tita just said now, we feel ashamed of it still now because that we are not taught in the class. Our parents are shared to teach us that. That's why we go to school. So if you go to school, I think teachers should teach us on how to take care of ourselves and stuff like that. If that thing is being taught in the classroom, it will remove that
Barrier.
Yeah, barrier and that feeling of being shy. Because like when sexual reproduction is being taught in the classroom now, we are okay with it when we are talking about it outside, because at least we know something about it. But period is not something that we are taught in the classroom. We only know that menstruation is the monthly flow of blood,
Stuff like that, the basic things.
Yeah, exactly. But they are not. They don't teach us the importance and how to take care of ourselves. So I think teachers should put that into the system so others will learn about it.
I totally agree. So Tita, what do you want to become?
So I don't want to be only one thing. When I grow up, I want to be a journalist.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Why?
Because like I see people who inspire me, just like you, Mr. Sirifo Sise. He has been my mentor since when I was in primary school. He's the one who taught me about all these speaking skills and all that. So like journalism is something that I really want to do because I normally see people doing it and I love it. And yeah,
I will have a private conversation with you on this. We are not having this conversation here because if I do, probably I'm going to get sacked and I don't want that. So, so I'm just going to have a private conversation with Tita after that. But Bintu, how about you?
I want to be a cardiologist.
A cardiologist? Yeah. Why?
Because I feel like heart is really important. It's one of the most important part of the human organs, even though all other organs are important. And again, I've seen someone that is very dear to me that died because of heart failure. And there was no one in the hospital to take care of her.
Okay.
That is one of the things that really inspired me to study medicine and study cardiology.
So what grade are you right now?
I'm in 10th grade.
So which school?
Gambia Methodist Academy.
So you are in Science 1?
Yes.
Okay, so you're getting ready for the 7-year journey.
Yeah, but it's not, I also want to do different things different from medicine.
Okay.
Yeah, medicine is the main target. I also like fashion designing.
You do? So how do you intend on combining being a doctor,
fashion designer? Yeah, I don't know, I just have passion for fashion. I just love designing. I love the idea of designing. Okay. And I'm being inspired by even some Gambians that are doing really good out there. Nice. Like I just saw Anik did her runway, so yeah, that was really inspiring. I wish one day I would have mine in the Gambia.
You should be able to. There's nothing stopping you from doing big things. And I feel like you guys are so lucky to have the internet, to have a lot of resources that I did not have and another person watching did not have while they were growing up. So make best use of the opportunities that you have right now. And then, you know, I'm sure you guys will be able to do big and amazing things that, you know, because at your age, you know, you're able to come voice your concerns and all of that. It is quite key. It is very, very key. So moving forward, before we leave, what general recommendations do you have, Tida, on Day of the African Child?
So I think this is a very significant day, and this is a day that all children should sit down and reflect on their rights and many other stuff. But also there's a lot of work that the government also need to do. Children do have responsibilities, but the government also has responsibilities, and their parents and the society at large. So parents need to consider taking care of their children, taking them to school and providing all the basic needs for their children if they can. Because before you can rely on the government or these private sectors for some things, you need to try also to provide it for your children if you can't provide it. And also, I want to tell the government that when planning and budgeting, let them try and consider children in all the things that they are doing, because children don't deserve to be left out. So,
And I'm so glad you talked about mobilizing local resources, because we've all seen the issue of Donald Trump completely withdrawing when it comes to US aid, you know, USAID, and just a lot of projects have left the Gambia because of the fact that USAID, you know, work has stopped, and mobilizing local resources for our own budgeting and planning. I think that's a very, very significant point there, Tida. Yeah. Bintu?
I would say that I'm urging to the government to please take care of our health, because without health we cannot do anything. If you're not healthy, you cannot do anything. And the health facilities are lacking a lot of things when it comes to medication, when it comes to machines, when it comes to laboratories. A lot of things are there, the health facilities. So when they're doing budgeting, they should include children and our health. I think that's all. And our parents as well should also make sure that they are also doing their duties as parents, taking care of children, because children are the futures of, and I think that's all.
Yeah, but generally, we forgot to talk about something quickly before we leave. Boys, the involvement of boys in the whole advocacy. Day of the African Child, I know it's just random that you guys came and you're girls, but generally boys also have a huge role to play when it comes to probably your rights as young girls and all of that. So as Children National Assembly members, when you go back to your schools, you do advocacies and all of that. Do you bring them in? Because sometimes they feel left out. And you know, boys are being raped. Sikiri.
Yeah,
boys are being abused, and we're not talking about that enough, Tida.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
It's very, very true, because they should be inclusive in everything we do. Just because they don't involve they don't involve themselves in that much of what we are doing.
They don't involve themselves, or they're not involved?
They are not involved.
No.
You know, the case for boys is different. When we say girls are more vulnerable.
Well, yes, that is established.
Yes, it's not like boys are not also vulnerable, but not as much as girls. And also, boys, they normally keep things to themselves and bubble up feelings. And like self-expression is not something very common to them. So I think boys should also be included, because there are so many abuses that are caused by men. If they are taught in their childhood, they will not do it.
Yeah, that's very true. Bintu, you were saying something?
Yeah, I was like, I feel like they might think that we are excluding them out, but we are here for all of them. Not only for girls, we are here for both boys and girls. So when certain events, we tend to include them. But boys, they are just being boys, and they don't want. Some boys, in certain places, you go there, you call for something, it's only girls that will show up, and boys will
Because lolu tam, I think society binuñ ko bilela tam. For example, xale bu góor dañ la dee wax ne warloo jooy.
Exactly.
Te xale bu góor ku bëgg a jooy dafa war a jooy. Waaye doo jooy dañ la wax góor nga bul jooy. So comme noo ko waxee, they build these things, and then eventually it's a challenge.
I think, this thing starts at home.
It does start at home.
Sikir bila, our parents, they don't tend to bring that equality among us.
Yeah.
And all this discrimination and all that, danga gis xale bu xamantene dafa am maybe bopam bi dafa rëy. In the house, your own siblings will start telling you, sa bopa bu rëy bi.
Exactly.
And that thing is bringing something that is, man suma bopa suma waxe sa bopa bu rëy suma génne si biti dama feel like na suma bopa dafa rëy suñu waxe kaay leen ñu nataal man I will not want to come, because I feel like suma bopa bi dafa rëy. So suma ñëwee si nataal bi at the end of the day ñii dañ maa ñëw ñu mock ma and all that. That thing should be it should be something that we should look at it in our houses.
Yeah.
We should stop telling yo ya jur sa dombi ya la moko defar. You telling her yo nga ko won ni nga mel. It's bringing a lot of things. Hale da come
hale rek la.
Wa te helambi it's growing with it. So ko waxe ni nga mel. Like I can relate it. Ngane ko yo yangi rey ni.
Yangi definitely.
Sometimes I used to be very chubby. Everybody discreet me. Yo yangi rey. It starts from at the house.
Yeah.
Yangi rey. So halebi sugene sibiti. I don't want to include myself. Do me get involved in other activities that children are doing because I feel like manama rey.
Yeah. So that's all part of the things.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. This discussion was really, really fun, which touched on several areas, and it's always exciting to have children in the studio because I feel like it gives you that perfect opportunity to be free, chit chat, you know, talk about all the things that we normally wouldn't talk about. So Bintu and Tida, good luck. The future is bright with you guys taking the lead eventually. Hang on, you legi ñu ngi màgget. Man gisuloo ma. Maa ngi màgget léegi de wax leen rek. What do you guys think?
No, you're not maggot.
You're not maggot. But eventually we'll have to push, we'll have to go. But thank you so much. So that was a discussion on the Day of the African Child. Till we come your way next week with another interesting program. Bye for now.